All right, hello everybody. I want to welcome you all to another edition of Music Scene Investigation. Rich Wildman here. Glad you're with us today. Going to have a great show. I can feel it in my bones. It's either that or the heat. I don't know which. 86 degrees in studio here. Got to tell you, it's hot, but that's the way we like it. It's all hot. So, again, glad to have you with us. It's going to be a lot of fun today. If you don't know what Music Scene Investigation is all about, two suggestions. Number one, listen to what I have to say. Number two, check it out, musicsceneinvestigation.com. That's probably the easiest way to do it. What we do every week is we get together with our panel of industry experts and we review your music. As an indie artist, you submit your music to musicsceneinvestigation.com. We'll then randomly select 3 items every week and put it to the panel. They will take and offer usually very technical reviews of your music. It's like we like to call it, reviews you can use. Something to hopefully make your music better. And that being said, let's meet our in-house panelist right now. From London, England, he's a music producer, a musician himself, and an author. It's Ian Husbands. Ian, how are you today, sir?
Oh, I'm good. How's everyone there?
I'm hot.
Well, it's raining here, and when I say rain, I don't mean as in like the 60 or 50 years it is that the Queen's been reigning over England, sponging off our taxes. And anyway, so yeah, lots of water here and no sun.
I was watching a little bit of the Jubilee today. I got to say, the Queen looks great, though.
That's because she's remote controlled. I was actually gigging today, and they had it on at the venue without the sound on while we were gigging. The TV was right in front of me. So it kind of felt like I was actually playing out the Jubilee celebrations, which was, kind of cool. The fact that the Queen was there watching me and waving.
You were playing for the Queen. She was waving at everybody but you.
You reckon?
Yeah. She looked good.
I reckon she would have let her hair down and started headbanging if she'd have heard us.
She did that. She did that later on. I saw it.
Okay.
It was good. I think it was David Bowie or Jagger or somebody like that who was playing.
It was Thin White Duke.
Yeah, it might have been. Thanks for being here, Ian. Always appreciate it. Our next in-house panelist from New York City, he is a recording engineer by trade. He's worked with big names. Don't want to drop any names. I'm going to let him do that. Here he is, Tom Chianti. Tom, how are you, sir?
I am fine, sir.
Why don't I see you? Why don't I see you?
Why don't you see me?
I don't see you. I have no idea.
I don't know why. I've got my, what's wrong?
I don't know. I'm just saying I don't see you.
Well, let me stop my camera.
No, I don't think it's you. I think it's me. I really do. I think it's me.
I think you just don't want anybody to see how good looking I am today.
That could be it. I mean, you're in a climate-controlled studio where I'm not, and...
well, you're wearing a T-shirt and a long-sleeve shirt.
Yeah, what's your point?
My point is, if it's hot, I would be in a T-shirt and just, I mean, I know you try to be professional, and I know you are professional, Rich, and this is nothing against your professionalism. But,
you're dark,
gee whiz, loosen up.
See, there's Tom Chianti, New York City. I'm sorry, Tom, I just don't know what the heck's going on with your video, man.
Well,
that's the most bizarre thing I think I've ever seen. I don't know.
Could be my audio.
Well, no, your audio is fine. It's your video I'm just having a problem with. Tell you what.
Chianti, yes. You want to call me back? You want me to call you back?
It's not the phone call because I'm getting your video across the network. The problem is something else. So what I may do is during the first song, we'll recycle the machine you're on and give you a call back after that. So you're going to have to sit tight until we get to the first song. So I appreciate you being here.
Anyway.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here, even though we can't see you, though.
Well, this is what happens when you have a big head. It just blots out the camera.
That must be it. You need to back away from the camera a little bit.
Which end?
Either. At this point.
All we see at the moment is your left nostril.
And you need to shave, my friend. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well.
I'm just saying. All right, let's meet our guest panelist today. Our guest panelist is a former NASCAR sports writer and food and wine critic, of all things. You can't believe it unless you read it. I got to tell you this. He founded the #1 ranked podcast, music, and talk show, The Great Unknowns Presents. And I got to tell you another thing. He's a managing editor of All Indie Magazine and the executive producer of the Artist in Music Awards. This guy's busy, more busy than Tom, Ian, and I put together, I think. Please welcome with me Mikey Jayy. Mikey, how are you? Glad to have you with us today.
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Doing fine, except for Tom being dark in video. I mean, at least your video works and looks great. So, let's talk about, I mean, a lot of people are already familiar with you, with who you are and what you do in our audience. But I just want to hit on some of these spots they may not be familiar with first. According to your bio, NASCAR sports writer, food and wine critic. Okay, first question. We talked a little bit about this in the pre-show. How'd you get involved as a NASCAR sports writer?
Well, we can definitely put that on my dad. I mean, we watched NASCAR together for years and years, and I hated it when I was a kid. I used to call it NetCar. And it wasn't until about 2000 that I started hanging out with him and just doing the whole barbecue thing and just doing the father-son bonding thing. And so it just really, after a while, after learning the sport, I began to love it. And then about 2007, I got a job offer to write for this publication in Washington, D.C., and it was totally online. And so I covered NASCAR. I did it for about almost 2 years, and one thing led to another. But I started my paychecks kept getting smaller and smaller, and so I didn't have any leverage. So I ended up going back to school to get my degree in journalism, and kind of one thing led to another, and I discovered the whole podcast thing at the college website, and I asked if I could do it, and they're, well, what do you want to talk about? Well, I wasn't really in a NASCAR market, so I chose music.
Okay.
And so that's how I got into music, and I was like, well, everybody's doing the whole mainstream thing, so I'm going to do what I love, and that's listen to independent music, because I honestly, I can't stand the radio.
Now, I was wondering how this all tied into music. We talked about that as well, so I'm glad you kind of brought that in. Now, you're still gonna have to explain the food and wine critic and how all that works as well.
My when I was working at the college website, they had me start a blog, and so I didn't want to. They're all like, "Well, you're already doing music. Pick something else." And so I picked food and wine because I love food. I love wine, and so I just started going around, going to wine bars and going, and because there's thousands of wines out there, and so I figured there was no shortage of topics for me to write about, and so I enjoyed it, but I got out of it because I wasn't making any money. I was spending more than what was coming in. It's great because a lot of people started to recognize my name. They knew who I was. Oh, Mikey Jayy's coming in. And I started getting free food and free wine, but, it still wasn't paying my bills.
Right. Well, at least you weren't going hungry, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of wine connoisseurs that are out there, they don't really have an income. And so they'll go years and years of doing reviews. And then finally, after like a decade or two, they finally start getting offers because they've built up that resume of legitimacy. But I couldn't wait 20 years.
Right. Starving college student, I can understand that. Now, so from NASCAR you moved into music, and according to your bio again, you've got the Great Unknowns podcast, you've got the All Indie Magazine, and now the Artist in Music Awards. Let's touch upon each of these. How long have you been doing the Great Unknowns podcast?
It started in March in 2009.
Okay, and let's give everybody a little bit of a synopsis of what it is and what it's about.
Well, like I was saying, that I look for independent music and really something that's really edgy and new and fresh. because it's kind of like the alternative to mainstream, just like alternative music. And so, but I don't just focus on one genre. It's all genres: country, hip hop, rock, alternative, folk, singer, songwriter. I mean, I have an ear, and I just love all kinds of music as long as it's fresh and new, and if people like it. I mean, if there's hundreds of people liking a specific song, then it must be good. So I don't only just look at what I like. I look at the whole structure of the song, how it's laid out, the arrangement, just the creativity, and try to put myself in a large audience point of view. And that's kind of how I look at music and put it on there. And if people don't like it, someone will comment and go, "You really didn't like this song," or and so it'll get removed.
Okay. Now this is you're showcasing indie artists is what you're doing, right?
Right.
Okay. Right. You're introducing your listeners to people they may never have heard before. I think that's a great thing. Now, the All Indie magazine, why don't you tell us a little bit about it and what it's about?
It was really just an extension of the podcast, because in the beginning I wasn't doing interviews like I do now, and so we would talk. Me and the artist would talk through email, and we would have conversations like, "Well, let's do an interview." And so all my interviews and reviews, they were just getting published on there, and the format hasn't really changed at all. We have a section called Advice, and it's advice for independent artists. So we kind of just cut through the chase and just kind of give away secrets on how to make it in the industry. Just to help pave the way for independent artists who don't know how to, manage and get through. I mean, there's so many things that people just don't tell you how to do things.
Right.
You have to learn the hard way and spend thousands of dollars when you can actually do it all yourself.
Or learn the hard way and lose thousands of dollars, right?
Right.
Yeah. Now, the Artist in Music Awards is something you have coming up. I believe the next one is going to be in February of 2013. I had the opportunity not to watch it live, but rather I watched the recording of this year's Artist in Music Awards. Great time, by the way. Really enjoyed that. So how'd that come to be, and what are your plans? Well, I'm sure you're building it bigger and bigger. How's that going? How's that working out?
It's going pretty good. We're really just trying to get artists to send in their tapes and videos and letting them audition to be on the main stage. Because last year we pre-selected 5 artists and to play on the main stage, but this year we're allowing the artists to compete for all 8, and we're hoping to make it bigger and bigger. And it's funny, you asked me how it started, and it was another extension of the Great Unknowns Presents, and I really wanted to honor the best talent of the show. But then after thinking about it before it was actually released, we decided to open it up and let everybody submit that's an independent artist, whether they're unsigned or if they're with a small independent label. And it's just really great. I mean, I didn't expect it to be as big as it was. I only anticipated maybe 600 people, but when they were starting to make people wait outside because it was too full. I mean, that was just amazing.
It gets crazy quick, yeah. Now, are you taking submissions right now, and how does that work? How does an indie artist get involved, get their opportunity to participate in the Artist in Music Awards?
Yeah, right now, if you go to aimusicawards.com, they can click on the submit button, and they can submit music to us, and we review it. And we don't really reject anybody, unless it's like really bad recordings, or if they don't have any music. I mean, there's some people that just are strictly stage people, but they can still qualify for like best music video, or for best song or something like that. If they want to perform, because we're taking submissions right now for the summer showcase, and we're looking for 9 artists to perform at the House of Blues in Hollywood, and we're picking one winner on each night. So we're having 3 artists play in June, 3 artists play in July, 3 artists in August, and then those 3 advance to the award ceremony on February 8th, 2013.
Now,
so,
do the artists have to play to be eligible for an award, or is that just for these particular artists?
No, I mean, you can submit just to be nominated for an award. I mean, there's some artists that submitted and they don't want to perform; they just want the opportunity to win, and that's fine. I mean, if they want to do both, I mean, they can do both.
All right. Now, I have a question in our chat room. They want to know what types of music, what genres of music are okay for, being considered for the awards? Like, for example, is ambient music a form of genre of music that would be considered?
Well, we haven't. Last year, we didn't get a lot of submissions for ambient, but that could fall under the singer-songwriter. It could fall under electronica. So, I mean, it depends on the demand. I mean, we got rid of a few categories last year, like Christian and gospel, and then we had the adult contemporary. So we got rid of those because we didn't get a lot of submissions for that. But if there is a demand, we'll restructure the awards program to honor that genre. Okay.
Now, as an artist, how do they do this submission? What are the details of it? How does it work? They go to aimowards.com and click a submit button. Take us through the steps.
Well, if you go to www.aimusicawards.com, go to the submit tab, and then it'll kind of show you how to submit. You can go to the rules tab and kind of get into more detail on how the voting process works, what we're looking for, the process, and also the schedule. We have that up there as well. Yeah,
I'm considering submitting some of my own music, even though it's years old. So I just want to let you know, if you get old blues music showing up, you'll know where it came from.
Yeah, we're definitely looking for blues artists.
I'm about as blue as you can get, unless I'm wearing gray. Just saying. All right, so Mikey, I appreciate you being here with us, man. We've got a lot to do today, a short time to do it. So we're going to try and work on Tom's video, as you can see. My hand there through his video. But we're going to try and work on him, get him back with us during the first song. I want to go ahead and get that first song playing, guys. So if you don't mind, let's go ahead and take a listen to that. I know you're all ready for it, so if you would, go ahead and give it a play, and we will take a listen to the first song on today's Music Scene Investigation.
Yes.
All right, there is song number 1 on today's MSI. Now, what I want to do, real quick, I want to test and see if Tom's video is back with us. And I'll be darned it's not. I really have no idea what's going on with that. Tom, you hang tight, man. We're going to go to Ian for his thoughts on song number 1 first. So, Ian, what do you think of track number 1?
Loved it. What a great start to the show. I mean, there are some issues with this from my point of view, but I mean, overall, this is a great song. It's reminiscent of bands like Live, Seven Mary 3. Someone said Rob Thomas in the chat room. I had Matchbox 20 written down, who Rob Thomas sang with. Vocal was strong. I had one issue with the vocal. When he came in, it was almost country. The vocal was almost country. And then in the second verse, he kicked it up a gear and he had that more of a growl in his voice, and it was harder and more solid. And I personally would have liked to hear the first verse exactly like that, sitting in the mix. It wasn't what I expected. The intro, which I felt was a little bit too long, I would have brought the vocal in sooner. But otherwise, the intro was great. The bass sound and the bass groove was awesome. The way the drums sounded and locked in with the bass was excellent. That guitar riff that played over the top of the bass lick, that was working really nice. I felt the harmonies were a bit lost. Didn't quite. I would have mixed them tighter with the lead vocal. And also, a common thing that we find on MSI, the vocals dropped out on the chorus. They needed a bit of riding in there on the mix just to bring them up and out of that mix. So when big guitars and that kick in, which all sounded great. The vocals just were slightly buried, and again, I want to hear what the guy's saying. The lyrics sounded good, the melody was hooky. I didn't like the mid-late. The mid-late, before that vocal came in, it was just holding on, acting, it was just like, and this is going, where exactly? And then it went into that sort of vocal part, and that was kind of cool. So I would have halved that mid-late, taken out the instrumental bit to start with, and just gone straight into the vocal. Yeah, otherwise I loved it. Strong dynamics, strong riffs, strong vocals, strong groove. Overall, a very, very strong song.
All right, well, I appreciate that, Ian. Thank you very much for your thoughts on that. Now, I am working on Tom's video, but we're going to go to him anyway and find out what he thought. You can look at my lovely mug while Tom tells us. Tom, what do you think of track number 2?
I disagree with everything that Ian said.
Wow, that's a first. Not really. Why'd you disagree? What do you think? What do you say?
And I particularly don't like the question mark where he should be.
I know.
I love it.
I'm working very hard on getting you fixed up here, Tom. So tell us what you thought.
Right.
Tell us what you thought.
Well, seriously, since you can't see me, I'm doing this interview and review naked. That's why you're not showing it.
Bad dreams.
Bad dream, yeah, bad image. I tend to agree with Ian, actually. The intro was a little bit too long. The sounds were there. I didn't think the song was hooky enough. That piano, dun, 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 it was a little redundant. And the middle 8, yeah, threw me. The vocal overall didn't have enough presence for me. I couldn't hear the man's performance. And as far as backgrounds, they were totally lost on me. Overall, it's a good sounding track. It's mixed well enough. It's a very excellent demo. It needs to be mastered or remixed with everything the same and nudge that vocal up. There's ways you can put the vocal, whether you can set it in the mix, like this vocal was set in the mix, but there wasn't enough presence to it. Or you can put it above the mix where it sounds like it's riding on top of the music. This was like all in line with the music. It was overall the mix was a little too deep for me. It was stereo enough, but it didn't really have dynamic range. It just sort of started, and then the vocal kicked in and just kept going. I I think it would do well to be remixed, mastered, and a little bit more interesting, little middle eight, and it would be a much stronger song. As far as it being a great song, halfway through I was looking to see how long it was left, and that to me is a sign that something's wrong, and it's issues, and like Ian said, it's got a bunch of issues with me. So overall, I'd say it's a good listen, but it needs work.
All right, I appreciate that, Tom. Thank you. And let's find out what our guest Mikey Jayy thinks. Mikey, tell us what you thought of track number 1.
I actually enjoyed it. I don't completely disagree with Ian and Tom, but it was really had some good moments. Overall, I enjoyed the song. I enjoyed the guitar intro, the piano intro as well. The vocals entered probably a little late, but when he finally came in, it was enjoyable. I liked his tone, the way that he just delivered it. I didn't really follow the lyrics too much, but I did notice that there wasn't much of a hook. I don't know. I kept waiting for the hook to come in, because the hooks are what really makes the song memorable. If you have a song out there and people can't remember the hook, they're not going to remember the song. So that kind of suffered there. But the song did break in well. The transitions were perfect. I enjoyed the chorus, the musical chorus. I figure if I heard it a few more times, I'd probably be singing along. As far as the traininess, I think it's about 10 years too late, but it doesn't mean it wouldn't be a major hit. I mean, you look at Kings of Leon. I mean, I didn't think they would be a hit when they came out, but they came on strong, and there were so many people that liked them. I would look at everybody and say, "What? Really? This is so out. This is so out of the current trend that." But sometimes when a song like this comes out, it could be the perfect timing, because everybody, we're all sick of the same stuff over and over. That when a song like this comes out, it may just grasp, the audience attention and be perfect at the time. I mean, like when Kings of Leon came out, I mean, they were almost immediately a top 10 hit on the charts. Now, would this song be a number 1? Probably not, but it's hooking. It needs a little bit more hook. There is some dynamics that needs to be worked on as far as the mastering, but overall, it was an enjoyable song.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I want to take a couple of seconds to introduce the artist to you and let you know who that was. Song number 1 was Class Action Satisfaction. That's from a group called Kid Felix. Kid Felix with Class Action Satisfaction. We appreciate their sending that in to the MSI Labs. Now, I got one more thing to do with Tom's video, and then I will have him back in the mix.
Hurrah!
Yeah, I tell you, it took a while, but I think we got him going again.
I hope he's got some clothes on now.
Yeah, me too, actually. Tom,
You missed it. I did my backflip.
Did we miss that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have
backflip. Oh,
we do have his video back. All right, gentlemen, I am glad that we've got everything worked out, and want to go ahead to our second selection. So let's go ahead and listen to track number 2 on today's MSI.
Time goes by so slowly, daylight seems to just drag on. I wait until the moment the darkness comes on. Fascinating how one seems to hold on to empty space. I'm clinging to your ghost that haunts the slowly pace. Love that's locking and
There you have track number 2 on today's MSI. Let's go to Tom now that we got his video back and everything is working the way it should. Tom, what do you think of track number 2? Tom?
Oh,
Tom?
what?
Tom, you got to turn around, Tom.
Oh,
Tom.
oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I thought I was facing the mic, the camera. I really like her voice. It just, I think she could have done a little bit more vocal styling to keep it going, because the song was very, very minimalistic, which gave it a charm that I liked. But I would change the fingerpicking style. It sounded like flat picking, where they used to pick to play each string. I would use a little bit more like bluegrass type of picking to move everything a little bit better. The hook sounded very familiar. As Ian says, this type of hook's been done before. The progression is there. But like I said, I really like her voice. She has a strong voice. I think in a different presentation with a different type of, maybe a little bit more drama with some strings and a piano. And her voice, it just didn't have the clarity mix-wise and the presence and the size mix-wise. The guitar was just a little too thin and prickly for me. But yes, I did say prickly. And I, as much as I like it, I hate to be Ian, especially since I don't have as much hair and a British accent. It's been done before. But I just got to say, once again, amazing voice. I loved it. I wish it was showcased better with a little bit stronger production behind it. The song on itself is a standard. It would go in a pop romantic. Somebody said a Jewel vibe. The only reason I don't believe it's a Jewel vibe, because Jewel does do a lot more vocal styling. A lot more changes in dynamics and timing, where the placement of the vocal, it didn't really float across the top of the guitar, even though the guitar was played well and everything seemed to be in time for the most part. I think it just really take it back into the studio and do it the way it should be done, with some strings and a piano. And really making a stronger ballad. Right now it's very folkish and simple, but you know, it has a charm that I like, and that's all.
All right, I appreciate that, Tom. Thank you so much. Now let's talk to our guest panelist, Mikey Jayy. Find out what he thought. Mikey, what do you think of track number 2?
I 100% agree with Tom. I mean, there was so much more that could have been done with the song. I mean, it was probably the intention of the artist to just keep it basic and keep it simple and true to the lyrics, which is great. But when you're looking at it from an audience perspective or a professional perspective, sometimes it's a little overdone, because, you know, we've heard it a million times. I mean, but she does have a lovely voice. I was really impressed with her vocal range and just the delivery. It just, overall, as an entire song, I was a little disappointed. I would just hope, you know, just for a single layer of music, I was just kind of bored a little bit. But, you know, because I was really hoping for like a bigger chorus, something to break in with just, you know, piano at least, or you know, synthesizer in the background. But, you know, on the positive side, the engineering was good, but I was just hoping for more on the production side, which I think is kind of like the producer's fault. Because, you know, a lot of these producers just do exactly what they're told and don't put in their opinion on what sounds good. And that's really their job. I mean, if someone's paying them thousands of dollars to produce a song, they should really give their professional opinion and really look at music of, you know, what these artists are bringing in, and be responsible and put suggestions out there and actually tweak it, work with it, add their own spin to it. I mean, if the artist doesn't like it, you know, of course they don't have to buy it. But that's just my opinion.
All right.
I think one thing I forgot to say, I was really hoping there would have been like at least the violin or some type of single string solo in it.
Definitely.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, gentlemen. Let's talk to Ian, find out what he thought. Ian, your thoughts on track 2?
Looking at this realistically, I'd say this isn't a track that's ready for release. I think this is a demo, and I think the artist knows it's a demo. You've got the acoustic sound was awful. Not awful, that's the wrong word, but it didn't work for this track. It overpowered the vocals in places. It was far too bright, and you had 2 acoustics recorded, one pan left, one pan right. They didn't always match up, and it didn't quite work as a stereo piece. This needed to be one guitar track recorded with a DI and a live mic, and use them to get the guitar track. And you probably get a better sound to it as well, because it did overpower that vocal. But this is a track to display that vocal, if you ask me. And that vocal is amazing. That is a really talented singer. It does need cellos. It needs some light drums. It needs an upright bass. It needs some piano. It needs some harmonies. But I think, if it has been done 1,000 times before, but this is one of those songs that will sell just like the other 1,000 did. It's a strong ballad. It's got to me, it had a sort of sense of Jim Steinman and Meatloaf. There's some of the sort of big ballads they write. I think if you took it in that sort of direction, you'd have a really strong, powerful ballad. And let's face it, people like Celine Dion have sung these sort of tracks. You put a name like that on it, and it would sell. There's no doubt about it. It's a strong ballad for that genre, and it does need work. I liked the gentle use of the delays and the echoes and the vocals. I liked the vocal recording. Personally, I thought it sounded quite nice. It was just the acoustic that lost it for that. But yeah, this is a talented young lady.
All right. Thank you very much. Let me take the time to introduce the track to you. Track number 2 is brought to us by an artist named Raven. The name of the track is In My Dreams, so we appreciate Raven submitting In My Dreams to MSI. Now, before we get to our third track, I want to remind everybody of Twitter Tuesday Live. Our friends over at Butterflies Radio do a great little interview show. They bring out indie artists every week, spend a couple of hours with them, spinning not only their tunes, but a lot of other great indie artists. You can catch them Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on butterfliesradio.com. Again, that's Twitter Tuesday Live. All indie all the time over at Butterflies Radio. We appreciate their being a partner with Music Scene Investigation. All right, gentlemen, we have one final track to go through today. So if you're ready for that, and I know you are, I know everyone out in the audience is as well, we'll go ahead and give that track a listen to. So here we go, everyone. This is track number 3 on today's MSI.
Mirror, you can see the shadow of the light behind your head. There was saying by the doors, you feel the train approaching the station. After finding the way outside, you're taking a walk to your bed. You escape from your lonely flat in the evening, nearest pub on your own. Buy the tequilas and drinking them one by one. Wasting your time on the salty ground. When you see your own face reflecting in the window, you're just smiling at you and simply saying hello. started the fight. Even though it wasn't the devil, you've been hiding your innocent soul. You're searching your shabby jeans, finding there the remains of your door. And you feel like you're losing your spirit, but your body continues to grow. Every time when you see people's faces, you're alone and salvation by faith. When you reckon your dignity measurements, those which always lead to disgrace.
There you have track number 2 on today's, or track number 3, I'm sorry, on today's MSI. Let's go to our guest panelist, Mikey Jayy, find out what he thought. Mikey, what do you think of track number 3?
The good part of it was the intro, but it kind of fell apart soon after. Not to be too critical, but I just didn't care for the vocal production. His voice was a bit nasally, and it was like covered up with some of the reverb. But as the music arrangements started to come in, it was good, but it felt like they were just trying to overcompensate too much. I just wasn't really feeling the song, and I really don't have a lot to say.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
whatever.
Just
you
to
think.
me, it just felt flat. Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, and we'll find out what Ian has to say next. Ian, what do you think of number 3?
I just want to clarify one thing. Were the train sounds on the track, or was that just Tommy's mic bleeding through?
No, the train sounds at the beginning were on the track.
Okay, just on the train track or on the music track? I'm getting confused.
On
The twain on track 2.
I can't help you there, Ian.
All right. Either way, they're a bit too loud for my liking. If they're in the mix, they're a bit too loud. I know they were in the mix. I was just, overall, the mix I felt needed more space. It was all on top of each other, and from a production point of view, this really needed just to decide which way it was going to go, because there was the air of the Beatles there. It was sort of some of the nice sort of strings and that coming in the background. But there was also that heavy rock guitar which was thrown in, and which, worked, but not necessarily in the context of all the other stuff that was going on. So I felt it was sort of struggling to be a rock song or a sort of more Beatles 60s poppy type tune. The vocal performance was a little shaky in places, and it did lack a performance as such. It was very flat. It lacked any excitement, and I think the vocalist is there. He just needs to work on his recording technique. Feel the track a bit more, and if you do get some squeaky notes or some shaky notes, go back and re-record them until they're right, and don't stop until you're really happy with it. It's very hard to produce your own vocals or yourself in any sort of way. And personally, I think that the producer on this was the guitarist. He possibly mixed it as well, because the guitar performances were fantastic. Some really nice arpeggios going on, some good sounds going on, but they were all up in the mix, dominating. I mean, the bass was safe, the drums sounded good, but again, they were nothing overly exciting. If the instrumental performances were solid, but again, they just lacked a bit of life, and I think you could have done a bit more with this, and it would have helped if it decided if it was going to be a sort of 60s pop song or a sort of more 70s, 80s rock track. Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at with that, really. There is something there. There's a good song there. It's been done before again. It's nothing that majorly new, but it needs to decide its direction before it can be a finished mix.
All right, appreciate that, Ian. Thank you very much. Now let me introduce that track to everyone. Track number 3, an artist who's been on MSI before, is Every Time, the name of the song. Pasha.
Hang about.
What?
Tom wanted to know
Just
something.
because you can't see me.
No, I can see you. What? What can I do for you, Tom?
Did I actually comment on that song?
I thought you did. You didn't?
No, I go second.
All right, well, let's find out. I apologize. Let's find out what you thought, Tom.
You can give him a good hiding after the show, Tom.
Yes, please do. I apologize immensely.
First, you don't get my video.
Right.
Now you're knocking me off the show.
Yeah.
What did I do to you last week?
I think it must be the weather, Tom.
I think the heat is getting to you.
It could be.
Hello, everybody in the audience. Thank you for recognizing me. My name is Tom Chianti. I actually am an in-house panelist on this show who occasionally gets to voice his opinion. That being said, I liked the changes. I did. The vocals were sloppy. And I think it's part of, if this was done in the studio, not enough money, not enough time. The styling of the vocalist was a little too staccato for me. And it sort of sounded like it was making up the word. He was making up the words on the spot. And how about, I think the production, if the guy who produced this would have lent an ear to song number 2, I think it would have been a much stronger song. This is definitely not radio ready. It's a messy demo. I just didn't get a strong feeling from it. And I wish I wanted to really like it. There's a lot there. The production was interesting and stimulating, and it was just maybe a little overproduced, maybe a little wandering, as Ian said, but it definitely needed a hook. It definitely needed the vocals to really punch in a better performance and ride over the mix. And yeah, I guess that's my opinion. And for what it's worth, I'm taking next week off.
Well, I apologize for skipping you, Tom.
Rich, let's get on with the show. Nothing need to be said.
All right, I appreciate that. Again, that track is called Every Time by a group called Pasha Black. I was saying they have been on the broadcast before, so it's their second time through the labs. We appreciate their sending Every Time into us again. So, gentlemen, you now have the task, as we lay towards you every week, to decide on a song of the week. So without further ado, I'm going to toss it over to you three and let you battle it out.
I don't think there's much of a battle.
You see, I'm in a quandary between 1 and 2. although 2 is stripped bare to the bone and that acoustic sound is just a tad too harsh, the performance and I think the song, will stand up to their own when that's done properly. I mean, number 1 is done very, very well, but it also has its issues in its own right.
Okay. Anybody else have thoughts or want to make a selection?
Mikey?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, definitely Class Action Satisfaction. I mean, that was my favorite. The show started off with a bang with that song, and just kind of went downhill for me from there. When you set the bar up that high, I just expect more with each progressive song. Sometimes that affects the other artists that come after, and it changes my opinion. So I don't know. I would have to revisit these other songs and re-listen to them again to kind of look at it from a fresh perspective. But that first song was the best one.
I think it is really a tough toss between 1 and 2. And I have to say, as far as songs go, what sells a song is a vocal performance or a good vocal. And for that, the vocal on number 1 was lost in and out. It needed backgrounds. And even though number 2 is lacking in production, I told you it had a certain charm to it. I could, just for the vocal performance alone, I could, not performance, the singer. I think she could have done a little bit more with the performance, but I just love the voice, so I have to say number 2. The song is sold to me, and I would listen to that again.
Okay, so we have a number 1 and a number 2 then. Ian?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do, don't we?
We also have number 3 if you want to really go out on a limb.
No, number 3, I wish I could, but it just lacks in elements that push me in the directions of 1 or 2. This is a tough call. There's something about 3 in there.
I like the song by Raven, but for totally different reasons. It's her vocal range and is really good. I've actually heard her other songs, and this was probably one of the ones that I didn't like as much, but just the music delivery. So based on the music alone, I have to go with number 1.
I think you're right, to be honest. From a point of view of we've got a full-on production. It's obviously had a lot of work. It is very strong. It would take a lot less tweaks to get that ready and out there than it would to do song number 2. So I'm going to look at it on that basis. I think, song number 2, I'd love to hear with some new production, better recording of the guitars, whereas 1 is there, isn't it? So let's go with song number 1.
All right, well, there you have it. Song number 1, Class Action Satisfaction by Kid Felix, is our song of the week. We want to take the time and thank everybody for being here, especially our guest panelist, Mikey Jayy. Mikey, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Certainly hope you enjoyed it as much as we did having you on with us.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I really appreciate you calling me and inviting me. So I look forward to doing it again.
Well, we'd be glad to have you on with us again. AIMusicAwards.com if you're interested in the Artist in Music Awards. Give us a couple of the other URLs for you, Mikey.
My radio station at KGUP 106 or I have to remember the websites, KGUP1065.com or allindiemagazine.net.
All right, so head over to those sites to find out more about Mikey and a little bit more about what he does. Again, Mikey, we really do appreciate you being with us today. Thanks again.
Cheers, Mikey.
Cheers. Oh, my God, I said cheers. I mean, bye, and thank you so much.
I want to thank everybody. I want to thank everybody else for being with us as well. And we're going to have Ian tell us who's going to be on with us again next week. So, Ian, who is our guest panelist next week?
I don't know, Rich, because you were looking at booking someone, weren't you?
That's right, I am, aren't I? All right. Again, thanks to everybody for joining us. Find out who our guest panelist is next week.
And despite appearances, I want everybody to remember I actually was here today.
You were, Tom. You were.
And we loved you, Tom.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well,
And I would like to remind everyone before we go that the hit list is coming. Don't forget, you'll be able to check out our website on that, or a web page on that soon on the site. But we've got actual prizes to give away on a Wednesday show in connection with Live to Play Network, Butterflies Radio, and the Indie Music Bus, who's in the chat. So look out for that coming. It's going to be good.
Absolutely will be great. Again, thanks for being here. We'll talk to you again next time on Music Scene Investigation. Going to play out right now with Class Action Satisfaction by Kid Felix. Here it is.